Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have Nate Fuelleman with me from Rosetta Hardscapes. Welcome, Nate. How are you?
I'm good, Angelique. Thank you.
Awesome. Great to have you on.
I appreciate it. Nobody's going to know Nate Fuelleman, though. Everybody's going to know it as Hardscape Nate.
Oh,
That's,
sorry.
yeah. My kids even call me that. Maybe not my wife's favorite thing to hear, but yeah.
Well, it's funny because I'd been following you on social media for a long time. I don't know how long. And I was like, and then I met you at Hardscape North America just recently, just in October. And I was
Yeah.
like, Hardscape Nate.
It's catchy. I know.
It is. So how long have you been Hardscape, Nate?
Oh,
Or
man.
should we say how you entered the industry? Let's start there. And then you can fill in the blanks as we go for Hardscape, Nate.
Sure. Yeah. Probably like most people, I got in it as a summer job. I started working for a local landscaper around here at towards the end of high school and learned everything I needed to know of what not to do. That was kind of the entry point. Here's everything you shouldn't do in this industry.
What, and are you saying that they weren't doing things well or that
Well, it maybe not everything to industry standard or safety protocol, maybe not OSHA compliant at any point in time, but
yeah,
it's the get the job done mentality, right? At any cost necessary.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I know everybody listening knows that too. But yeah, okay, let's moving on. That's a whole nother topic.
oh yeah. No, so I started down a whole separate path outside of landscaping and
And what was that
uh,
path?
so I went to school actually to be a mechanic. So I did body
Okay.
work. So I painted cars and fixed dents for a living. And
Awesome.
so picked up mechanical skills that way that turned out to help me down the road. But it didn't take very long to be in a body shop, all day long and looking outside and, kind of
Wishing
that,
you were
that,
out there.
yeah, your own boss, it's always looks really nice when you're, the employee for somebody. You look out and you're like, oh, I want to be my own boss. I want my own hours. And little do you know that it's actually like double the hours of what you're actually working right now. Yeah.
And half the pay of yeah,
Hopefully have
to
to
start
pay. Yeah,
hopefully.
absolutely. Yeah. I remember one lunch hour as I was at the body shop, I made a phone call and to a dealership, a car dealership, and bought my truck and bought a trailer and bought a mower. And I was one of those guys that we always talk about in the industry of like, oh my goodness, like what's going on with this one here? The magnet on the side kind of thought process. So, but I mean, that's where we all start. I mean, I don't want to say that's where we all start, but I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
it was mowing. It took, the little bit of knowledge that I picked up from the summer job and started mowing. And yeah,
Okay,
so I
so
had my
even
own, so I started my own
in mowing
landscape
though,
business. Yep.
even though
Yep.
you're Hardscape Nate, so you're not yet Hardscape Nate then. Okay.
No, that didn't take me very long. God bless those guys out there that are professional uh, lawn people because it's not in me to be able to sit and stripe out a lawn and like there's way too much time for me to be thinking about every other thing going on that my
Yeah.
ADD was kicking in very quickly.
Yeah.
So no, I
Okay.
picked up small jobs and got the taste of it. Right. And,
Yeah.
um, I, I talk about, um, when I'm with other contractors now, and as I've come through the years in the industry, it's, I think the guys that are doing it, that are really doing it, what we can have 900 conversations about, if they're successful, if they're doing well, if they're doing the things right or whatever, but we're all craftsmen, right? I think, and that's where my love for hardscaping is that being able to walk in to, onto a property and into the backyard with a blank canvas and, transform that blank area in the backyard into something that homeowner walked out with a huge smile on their face, and you could tell that they were going to use it. That was the drive. That was
Yeah.
the part that you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
So from the time that you started your lawn care business, how long before, it took you to go, actually hardscapes is my avenue.
Um, I mean, I was doing smaller hardscape projects probably within the first 3 years.
Okay.
It didn't, it took me a little bit, just it's the established thing, right?
Yeah.
Find somebody to do a job, and probably like a lot out there. It was a neighbor of a relative that, gave that chance to you.
Chance.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
And then you probably lost money on your first job
Oh,
because you didn't
guaranteed.
price it right.
Oh yeah. Well, because you don't own any equipment at that point either. So, the mentality is, well, I have to own a skid loader to do this job. Well, I have to own a brick saw to do this job. Like, so all of a sudden you own a lot of equipment for your very first job. And, that puts dead on the wrong side of everything.
Yep. Yeah. Or you rent it and you go, oh, I just need it for a week. And
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty soon
the
you're,
weather
yeah.
moves in and
Yeah. Renting
or
renting probably would have been the smart thing, right? Like, at least you
mm,
get the taste of it. You go that way, but yeah, I mean, at least for the first job, owning it probably wasn't the best idea, but here I am today. So
yeah, yeah. Well, awesome. Well, and so how long did you run that business?
I had my landscape business, hardscape business for 12 years, based out of southern Wisconsin, south central Wisconsin. And my wife is a teacher, and the landscape industry and the teaching business have a very different set of hours. And so it took my wife, I think it still takes her quite a bit to wrap her head around my busy season. And so I had the opportunity to sell my business, and, and at the same time, I fortunate enough to move into a manufacturer's role. So we had our first child, and that was kind of the catalyst of getting out of the hardscape industry as a design build owner, and into what she thought would be, less hours, less more structured hours, I would say. But turns out that,
Has that
I
worked?
I
Oh
travel
yeah.
more, and I'm away from home more now than I ever was. So,
Oh no. Oh no.
but so yeah, no, I went to work for a small little regional manufacturer in Wisconsin called County Materials, and um, that was the start of working on, um, really who I was about to become in the hardscape industry. As far as, it was nice. I had the knowledge of installation, and running the business, and understanding the mindset of an entrepreneur, and somebody who's in the trenches doing it, which allowed me the ability to, help other contractors now from a different level, with things to be successful, right? And that was the part that really, um, struck me, right? Because sometimes it's hard. You say you're a manufacturer's rep, and they're like, oh, it's your product, your product, your product, your product. And sure, I mean, my job was to sell product, but at the end of the day, being that guy that was in the trenches, seeing the rep come up to you, and all you could think was, oh my god, I don't have time for you right now. Like, I've got a
Yeah.
deadline I've got to meet, and here you're standing there staring at me, wanting me to, buy your product today. And so that those things helped me understand what it was that the contractors really needed help with, and the understood the business understanding, the education, the tips and tricks that you could give them to maybe avoid, the potholes, maybe not completely, but soften the blow of what those could be.
Yeah.
So that teaching side of it is really what drew me in.
Awesome. And hence is that the time, so you were working with county that you became Hardscape Nate.
So not quite.
No, not
Uh,
quite. Oh.
well, uh, we'll give a shout out. So nicknames can't be, you can't give yourself your nickname, right? A nickname
Oh,
has to
okay,
be
okay.
given, right? That's the
That's
whole
the
deal.
golden rule.
That is like, you know, um, I had the opportunity to take on a larger role. So my time at county was more Wisconsin based, more regional,
Oh,
and
okay.
so I got an opportunity to help open up the what we called the Midwest territory for Techo Block when they moved, more out of the East Coast and into the Midwest. So
Okay.
myself and another gentleman were hired and tasked with launching Techo into the Midwest. So from Wisconsin, Illinois, all the way out to Nebraska. So we covered a lot of ground, and we both worked for a gentleman by the name of Paver Pete, uh,
Okay.
who's been a mentor and a longtime friend. And so during my tenure with Techo, I did education and their traveling showcases with Pete and spoke with them. And that was where I was granted the name Hardscape Nate. So
Anointed.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's the quick way to where Hardscape Nate came from. So it's always a back room somewhere with a a cold old style in hand and at 11 o'clock somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. So you found your calling then, being in hardscaping and coaching and teaching. Um,
Yeah,
is
I
that
mean,
yeah.
it's been a blast. I've been, and without a doubt, I've been blessed from all of the different places that I've worked and been a part of. They've all given me the ability to expand, my knowledge and my reach inside the industry. I mean, it's from being on boards with the ICPI and the NCMA, and I mean, countless ICPI installer courses that I've instructed over the years, NCMA, so all those companies that I'd worked for, um, let me do the travel and go to the events and taught down at H&A for NCMA. That's time out of being in my territory. So
Yeah.
though I give a ton of credit and really wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for all of those people that I've worked with and worked for that have let me kind of explore all ends of the industry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and now you're with Rosetta Hardscapes as well, and doing that as well. So you're still teaching lots of courses and traveling all over the place. And a- it, what was I going to say? You taught a course recently in Atlanta that I saw. It was just after Sync Live, so I saw you there, but maybe it was a week or two afterwards that I thought was really interesting. Um, I can't remember the title of it. What was the title though?
Overhead, yeah, overhead recovery and bidding. Yep, yep.
Okay,
Teaching
okay.
contractors how to understand their overhead, and then how
Yeah.
to how to how to actually quote that out and put a bid out there that fingers crossed you make money with, right?
Well, and it's funny because you hear about people not knowing their cost and maybe not surviving very well. And then you think, oh, have we heard of enough of that in our industry? But it was interesting because you and I were talking about it earlier this week that it is still quite a major issue in our industry. Is that right?
Uh, I believe so. Yeah, I think um, there's more people out there than myself that are talking about it. There's not enough, um, and it tends to um, it tends to I don't want to say necessarily fall on the shoulders of, but you see we in a position where we're with a manufacturer or like myself, like I don't necessarily rep product anymore. I mean, I work for Rosetta Hardscapes from a licensing side of the business, and so I work with manufacturers, the actual manufacturers making the product. So I work with them on how to educate their sales teams to educate the contractors and so on and so forth. So we have the ability to in roles like this and as a manufacturer to see more contractors and spread out, and so it tends to give us the ability to speak at that level, with contractors, right? And have more engaged with us in those conversations. There's not enough of us out there talking about the numbers, leaving our products out of it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
the product at the end of the day is
It's a
such a small
calculatable
part.
amount of
That's exactly it. And
that's the
product,
easy part.
that's it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, manufacturer A's product is ultimately no more different in price than manufacturers B, really, at the end of the day, right? I mean, a
Yeah.
yard of concrete is a yard of concrete is a yard of concrete. But everybody's overhead is completely different. Everybody has a different skid loader. Everybody has more rent or mortgage payment or personnel or insurance or whatever the case is.
Or
There's
you
so
own
many more
equipment.
variables.
Well,
Absolutely.
you mentioned that as a first time business owner and you bought all the equipment and I was thinking, "Oh my goodness, like I I remember buying equipment and then I wasn't charging enough in each cost estimate to cover my cost of owning it." I was like, "Oh, passing on that savings onto my clients going, what did I just do?" Like,
Yeah.
okay, I've saved myself rental costs, but then I've purchased, which is more expensive, and I'm not passing on those costs. That's
Absolutely.
a huge error.
And so then you have to be prepared to purchase another one. And if you're barely covering the cost just to maintain the one you have, you're for sure not recouping cost to
Yeah.
purchase another one when yours is no longer usable. So yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of things that can trip you up from the start. And also, I mean, even the prep, and I've had clients that have kind of pushed me to like give them comparison of different materials, but what I think I didn't do well to start with that I became better at over time, but it's like the surface material is a fraction of the cost of a laying a patio is, the surface material that you see, but everything underneath and consumable that you need to lay that, the base, the pointing materials, the sand, if you're needing to kiln dry sand, all these things, and the labor and the waste disposal of, you know, the ground that you dug up and all this
Mhm.
stuff. Like if you look at the cost of just the outer material or the pretty stuff, it's
Mhm.
actually a small percent of the whole job.
Oh, absolutely. And the facing is one small little aspect of the whole thing, and um, yeah, there's so much. I mean, like I love this conversation because I mean I spend 4 or 5 hours with contractors working through high level just this specifically. What do we need to look at for your bid and how to make sure that you're making money because there's so many guys. There's a gentleman, a young contractor that I met in Richmond, Virginia, about I think I was out there like 3 weeks ago for an event, and we were talking, and he's pretty new into the industry, and he was telling me, he's like, oh man, I got a couple of these coda wall projects, and I'm super excited, and he's going on, and he's like, I'm super busy, and we got on to costs and things like that, and I was like, we got talking about his numbers, and I realized that he had no idea what his overhead was, what his costs were, what he should be bidding, which is a common item. I mean, that's a very common
Mhm.
conversation to have, especially with newer contractors. Um, and I said to him, like, listen, you can be busy and broke all at the same time, right? And that's
Yep.
a realization that a lot of people don't understand. Is like, you know, they might, oh, I'm going to fall short on this project, but if I get 5 or 6 more projects, I'll catch back up. You're never going
Not
to
if you're
catch back
pricing
up.
it wrong.
Absolutely, every job you're going to go more and more in the hole because you never recouped the first cost. And
Hmm.
so that was like his kind of like aha moment of a wait a minute. Yeah, I get it. I could be running every day, 7 days a week, and still be broke and getting worse every day, and so
Deeper in the
it's
hole.
taking that, yeah, it's taking that moment to stop. And I told him, like, listen, I get it. We started, it's beautiful. It was 75 outside, sunny. I'm like, this is the time to go, but your time is actually to stop. Like right now, you need to stop, figure out your overhead,
Mm,
so that as you're doing bids now, you don't keep digging yourself a hole. You have to
yeah.
readjust your price so that as you're going out, you know what you should be charging, so that you can at least finish the year at this point without going out of business.
Well, and I think unfortunately we do have quite a turnover in businesses that are in business and are profitable
Yeah,
because of that, um, which is a shame because it's such a passionate industry. Like people who work in it, like you did, you did part-time and then you're like, I miss being outside. You
yeah,
gravitate back to the industry because you love it. And the fact that they could be missing out and just don't even realize it at the time. And it's not just your overheads, it's also your time, you know, whether it's going to take you 10 days to do that job or 30 days will affect how you price that job,
yeah,
weather
absolutely.
delays, going to pick up things that you've forgotten, or starting a job that weather forces you to move off, like all of that wasted time. I guess, I know that I was really bad about going, oh, we'll fix whatever, and we'll go back to that job to fix it. And then I didn't track that time,
Yeah,
because I was
yeah.
just so worried about our reputation and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it right. And then those defects that you went back to fix, how much did that cost as well? Are you, and actually to do it right, it'd be better to pay extra to get a better piece of equipment to lay it right next time, or a better, pointing mixture, or, better base, with all that wasted effort that you went back to the job maybe 6 months afterwards, there's some kind
Yeah.
of failure or water sitting on the paving, or something that you had to go back and fix. It costs so much more to rectify something than to do it right from the first go.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, you're
and
typically, like, we, general statement in the industry. I mean, guys give discounts, right? So, well, I'll compare it to a discount. Guys that love to, homeowners, like, oh, so and so came in and said they do it for this, and you go, all right, well, I'll give you a 15% discount. There isn't there isn't 10 to 15% in the job in the first
margin.
place. So when you have to go back, I mean, you've already given all your money back and done work for free at that point. I mean, it's cost you that much because there
Yeah.
isn't that kind of flexibility typically in a quote or a bid to have that. So quality assurance, quality control, for a landscape company is, a lot of guys kind of, they don't think about it. They think about, first thing anybody thinks about when we talk quality is, did the paver show up without a single chip mark on it, right? They love to go out and check all that, but they don't think about, did I prep my base? Did I go down far enough and prep my subgrade soil properly for drainage? Is it pitched away from the home? Is it whatever the
Yeah.
case is? Those steps that are so important for that project to be successful and never have a problem.
Yeah.
Did you lose me?
I did. That's okay. Just the video.
Okay, hang on.
Okay. Some people are gonna just hear the audio. So
There we
okay,
go. We'll
gotcha.
switch it up. We switch cameras. Multiple cameras going here today.
Camera one, camera two.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
exactly.
Wayne's World.
Yes, I love it. Game on.
Game
Yeah,
on. Okay, game on now. Continue your train of thought.
yeah, but no, I mean, you're like you said. It's cost. It to do those things that you think are service items that you're helping, your brand, and helping, um, uh, how customers feel about you, right, and how they talk about you afterwards. Absolutely. I mean, that's a huge part. What branding 100%. Do the trucks look clean out front? Are they leaking oil on the driveway? All of those items, as well as the quality of the product that you put out, has to meet a standard.
Yeah.
But you can't, you're running a business. And I guess that takes me back to the statement of we're most guys, most companies, most people that start in the landscape industry, or hardscape industry, or for that matter, carpentry and other trades, they do it because they're craftsmen. They love to
Mhm.
do and build things, create things with their hands, with their mind. They're artists, right?
Yeah.
But they're not business people. The passion isn't in knowing the numbers. The passion is in the
Yeah.
creation of something, right? And which is great, which is what drives people to get into the business. But
But that's not
you
enough
really
to
have to put the
sustain
business
them.
first. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't have a business without being business minded, right? And that's the part that gets to be trouble for contractors is I'm just going to do really quality work and that's going to push me through. The problem is that you have, potentially 4, 5, 10, 15 people now working for you. And those are lives and with families that have
Hmm.
to sustain, and you have to help sustain and keep them healthy on the job site, right? So whether it's PPE protection, health insurance, days off, what all those items that unfortunately, if you're starting a business, there's a
You have to
lot to
know
that
about.
business. Yeah, absolutely. But that's the fun part. That's what what we've kind of talked about so far. That's I hope 30,000 contractors come across the video to at least hear the part of like whether it's myself, whether it's Paver Pete, like there are tons of guys um, that are out there truly passionate about helping contractors be successful. There are definitely some
Mhm.
out there to be careful of, without a doubt. There's some that are doing it for themselves and it is what it is. But there is a ton of people that are out there that want to see contractors be successful. I love it because I was them, and the industry since then has
Mhm.
been very good to me, and I want that. That's a give back for me. Like this has been
Yeah.
great for me. I want it to be good for you. Like there's definitely it's never easy. You're gonna have a long road to hoe, but like it, I smile about it. I love it. I mean, I wake up every day to do it. So
Yeah.
um, it can be that for everybody. But my point to that is reach out and ask for the help, right? And
Yeah.
that was this gentleman in Richmond that I met was not sure about asking for the help. He's like, I said, hey, let's sit down. I said, let's schedule time together. We'll do a Zoom meeting here. And I
Yeah.
said, I'll spend 3-4 days with you, going through your numbers with you, going through it, figure out your overhead. And that's one guy. Let's help you be successful. And he's like, you don't want to do that. It's just going to take too much time. I'm like, ask if you know that you don't know your numbers, reach out and say, yes, you know what? I would love that help. Take the
Mm.
help. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just ask because there's enough of us out here. Hopefully, there gets to be more of us out here, but there's a lot of us out here that want to help those contractors and see them be successful. And
Yeah.
yeah, anyways, there's my
Well,
soapbox for the day.
it's funny because, I did the same thing. I started a business and then I was so focused on winning work to keep my team busy. It's like a hamster wheel where you like, oh no, I'm running faster and now it's going faster. And I got to a point where I didn't have time to learn from anybody or ask any questions. And that's uh, I think that's a real danger in our industry because, you know, you're so busy in the spring, no matter what, people like clients call so much more in the spring than the rest
Sure,
of the
sure,
year. And you get excited and you maybe hire more people to work with the demand, but then you have to get more work. And um, it's hard to take that time to say, okay, let's stop and recalculate my overhead costs and look at my cost and am I doing anything right? I think that and you know, you're having to jump because of weather. we have a very reactive job, I guess is what I'm saying, because of the busy times of the year and weather and stuff like that. Is there anything that, you know, I guess summarizing your advice would be to like stop and ask for help from people. Is that what you're saying?
As a
Take
business
that
owner,
time.
absolutely. Right. Because the way you just explained it, that the number one thing I would have given you advice in for help in that statement that you just said was delegation, and which
Mhm.
is one of the hardest things as a business owner because your name is on the side of the vehicle, right? Like there's a real personal connection when you own the company. You're invested, right? Like
Yeah.
there's your life is attached to that. Uh, but you have to, and it's one of the hardest lessons for contractors. I know firsthand because I had a heck of a time with it, and that was letting go of certain tasks. That was trusting that you have hired the right people, that those people are, and they're not. Here's the kicker.
And they're
They're
going to
your
make
employee.
mistakes. Yeah.
Well, they're going to make mistakes, but they're not. They don't care as much about the company as you do, and they never will. Nobody, because they don't own the company. And I'm not saying they don't care. They care. They're great people and they're compassionate people, but they're never going to have the same level of connection to it as the one that owns it,
Yeah.
right? And
No, that
you
good
have to
point.
let that go, like to a point of where if I'm trying to control every aspect of the job, there's only so far I can grow as a company because I'm a one man band at that point. No matter how many people I've
That's
got working
true.
for me, I am now the single linchpin to if this business is successful or not. Right? Like I get hit by a bus, it's done. I
Yeah.
haven't delegated anything. Right? So it becomes delegation and handing off and understanding, and it's a challenge without a doubt of where does that make the most amount of sense, and financially, everybody's got to look at their business a little bit different, but you got to let go of certain tasks and understand that ultimately you have to do the things that are going to help your business grow, and the day-to-day work isn't going to help it grow. It's going to help get a job done potentially,
Hmm.
but you're not growing anything into the future. And for your employees to be successful,
Yeah.
you have to actually grow around that. And so in order to grow, then becomes you got to stop, take a minute. Do I know my
Understand.
numbers? Do I need to go to a training? Right? Everybody asks, like,
Yeah.
should I go to H&A? H&A was the same last year as it is, the year before. And I'm like, but was it? Like, did you
Yeah.
go to H&A and go and visit with the reps at the companies that you buy material from? This, like, just like you did the year before and the year after that. Did you just go to those booths, hang out with them,
And
collect some
visit.
swag, get the
Yeah.
hat, right? Or did you actually go and learn with an open mind about other products of
Yeah.
the same kind, right? Other
Yeah.
manufacturers making the same stuff. Is there something I don't know about? Is there, equipment
There's
out here I want to play
improvements
with?
every year. Every year.
You just got to look for them,
You
right?
do
Like,
have to search them
absolutely,
out. Yeah.
you got to spend the time. And here's the business owner. I personally, H&A is awesome. I would suggest everybody to go to H&A, but for a good chunk of people, I would be going to my local community college and taking a class on accounting. Not because you need to be your own accountant, but I want to understand what I might be looking at or my accountant's looking at. I would
Yeah.
take a community college in, you know, business marketing, right? Or an
Yeah.
online course in social media
I was
marketing to
going to say
better
social
understand,
media.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
Because it's more than taking a picture and posting that one picture up on Instagram, right? There's
it
how
is.
do I drive customers, prospects to call me, to give me a chance to
And
quote
it's the
and
right customers for what you offer.
oh
There's a
yes.
a right fit for everybody. And yeah, I think that you're not getting certain types of jobs because you're not showing that you can do certain types of jobs. So again, that's a good, yeah, good to touch on marketing. I'm sorry, but we have run out of time. We started like lots of topics,
Yeah,
but
we
the
were all
good
over the
news
board.
is for the audience is that Hardscape Nate will be contributing some articles and then we'll be talking about them on the podcast in the future and possibly some webinars. So we're talking about doing more and more. So some of these topics you will see in different formats and in more detail in the future. So thanks so much, Nate, for jumping on a call, and we'll have you on the our future podcasts as well, and look forward to working with you more in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Angelique, for having me.
Great to see you again, and see you again soon.
Sounds
Okay,
good. Take care.
bye.